All right. Welcome to the second half of Beyond Borders Between Worlds Story Jam. So our next storyteller is Zubin Didia. Yeah. He's got a big friend base. Zubin loves bringing people together, as obviously. He also is an avid traveler. He loves exploring foreign lands and the farthest reaches of the mind and universe. He was born in India, but of Persian heritage, touched by America, but he defies labels. If you must. He wrote it, not me. Actually, I did write that part. Anyway, please give it up to Zubin Didia. This is his first story jam, so give him a really warm welcome. Zubin Didia, meet the parents.
Thanks, Will. I think the first thing I'll do is move this glass out of the way. I have like habit of doing that, So hi, how's everyone doing? Good? So, it was dawn about 12 years ago, April, and I was in Leiden, the Netherlands. I was there to actually meet the parents of my girlfriend at the time. She was Pascal. Pascal was her name, and she was used to be a student here at UCSF. And a few months ago, she had moved back to the Netherlands to continue her research in Leiden. And I had just flown in from San Francisco. I was jet-lagged, but the excitement of being in a new country, I wake up at dawn, and like initially I yawn, jet lag, it's all gone, it evaporates in no time. I'm excited to go, let's find out what this place is about. So I crack open the front door of the apartment, and there are a few short steps leading up to the street. My eyes go up, and I see this couple walking down the street, wearing these very colorful sneakers. So my really red and green, okay, that's interesting. My eyes track upwards. These legs, they seem to go on and on to infinity. Then I look and track further up, and then these torsos, they are elongated, kind of like they have been drawn through a pasta machine. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I keep going up, and then I meet the faces. And I'm looking at this couple, and they're walking down the street, and they're at least 6'4", both of them. I'm like, Pascal was right. People here are tall, very tall. Wow, okay. So as a dwarf in a strange new land, I put my best foot forward. We walk down the street. The train station is just right across the street nearby. We pass these big multi-story bike racks with thousands of bikes. We get into the train, and then the train starts moving, and we start going through these fields of tulips. They are like rows of tulips, half a mile long at least. Each row is like red and green and blue and pink. It's beautiful. I'm like, wow, what a beautiful country. We arrive at Amsterdam train station. For the next few hours, we spend our time kind of walking around, seeing some tourist sites. I remember being especially fascinated by these buildings that they had, tall buildings, and each of them had a winch. And the winches were used to pull furniture up to the top levels, so you could draw it in through the window into the top level. This is a relic of a time when, in the Netherlands, taxation of buildings was done based upon the amount of frontage they had on the road. The result, long, narrow buildings with barely enough room in front to have a door and not much else. And definitely no room for a staircase where you could take furniture upstairs. Anyway, we walk around, and then day turns to afternoon, and we're walking down a pretty normal street. And we suddenly, I'm walking down, and Pascal suddenly turns to me, and we are right in front of a convenience store. And she says, "Zubin, look." I like, what? And like, I look on the sidewalk, there's like a sign. And on the sign are scrawled the words, "magic mushrooms." So I turn to Pascal and I say, "Magic mushrooms? What's that?" So she says, "Oh, they are these hallucinogenic mushrooms and they give you visions." She says that, my eyes light up. I'm like, oh. Ever since I'd been a kid, 10-year-old, I'd read stories about these hallucinogens, and I'd been fascinated by the idea of going into a different visual reality. I was like, oh. So, and like, I'm like, here's my chance. I'm here, this nondescript little street, nondescript little store. I catch hold of Pascal's hand and I put, I'm like, she tells me this shop is called a smart shop. So I put my smartest foot forward and I go into the store, taking her along, and I say, "We must get some." So I walk into the store, and there are these big glass cabinets there. And that's the first thing I see. And inside the glass cabinets, I see all these shrink-wrapped packs of mushrooms, 5 mushrooms per pack. And they're all shapes and sizes and colors. And so I'm like, okay, what do I do now? So I like look up looking for the proprietor. So I look up above the glass case, and I look at her torso. And by now I'm used to it, so I do that. So, and I'm looking at a smiling face of a tall, young Dutch gentleman. So very shyly, I ask him, "I'm kind of new to mushrooms. What would you recommend?" So this guy, he kind of like looks down at me like this, and he's like, "Yeah, I think for you, the Mexican mushrooms, that's what you need. A lot of laughter, yes." So I'm like, okay. Now, it turns out that one pack of 5 mushrooms is $20. Now, for something so exotic, I was expecting to pay $100. So I was like, just $20. So the 5 must be 1 dose. So I'll take 2, thank you. Here's $40, I'll take 2. So I pick up 2 packs of mushrooms, and then I walk out with Pascal in tow. Until that point, I had not tried anything, no marijuana, no cigarettes, no nothing. So we walk out. And for people who may not be familiar, as I later found out, a normal dose for mushrooms is like half or 1 per person. So anyway, finally in the evening we get back to our apartment in Leiden, and we have our dinner, and then I very excitedly tear open the 2 packets of mushrooms. Should we have just the caps or also the stems? I think just the caps. So I tore off the stems and I tossed them in the trash, and I said, let's just have the caps. So we had 5 caps each. And we wait. So and it's like 30 minutes have gone by, and I'm like, I don't feel anything. Maybe we should have had the stems as well. So I fish into the trash can, pull out the stems, and 5 stems each. We have them. Now, 5 must have been like a special number that day, because 5 minutes later, I suddenly look at Pascal, and I go, I don't like the way you look. Her mouth was wide, her lips were blood red, Her smile looked like something out of a cartoon movie. I was like, I don't like the way you look. And then, a few minutes later, it hits us both like a freight train. The scariest experience I've ever had in my life. My skin felt like rubber. My clothes felt like they were sticking to my body, like adhering to them. If I put my hands into my pockets, it felt like the pockets were crushing my hands. I turned up, I looked up, and there was the Grim Reaper coming for me. His face black as the blackest night, with his skeeth in hand. The amazing thing was Pascal was seeing all the same things. We were both panicking. I would go into the restroom, and I would see in the mirror, and my reflection, my skin was melting, like in a horror movie. It was terrible, and this thing went on and on. Sleep, you couldn't sleep. Closing your eyes was no escape. So, 3 hours have gone by. We are like crouched on the couch like that, like afraid. 3 hours have gone by, and then finally, things start to improve a bit. Suddenly, the world starts looking very much more beautiful, like an art piece. With you see like vivid colors, you see intricate designs everywhere. It was beautiful. I heard the music. It split up into 2 tracks with different instruments on each side, and I'm listening independently to them. I was like, oh, this is cool. So it was this moment. It was this moment when I was like between worlds, between this world of horror and the normal world I know, that suddenly a stark realization came to me that the world as we know it doesn't really exist. It is a fabrication of our minds. Our minds take in signals. It takes in sound, it takes in light, it takes in smell, and then it tries to graph them or plot them and create a world which might make sense. But it creates a reality, what we consider reality, and it could just as well take in those signals and create a different reality. It could create a scary reality, or it could create a beautiful reality. And it's all made up in your mind. Anyway, it's until dawn that we can finally go to sleep. And somehow we managed to go to sleep at dawn. And few hours later, I wake up, and I'm like so happy to be back in the reality that I know. And so is Pascal. And I was like so thankful. And then it was time. It was time to meet her parents.